Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time for round two, the second game of today. This is going to be Decisive Supreme versus Spitfire. Going into the picks and bans immediately here, we're going to be seeing them coming out pretty rapid fire, with some will come being banned up by Decisive Spitfire, will retaliate with the Circuit and the Ao Kuang bans, and then Decisive Supreme are going to be firing back with the Geb pick, with the Geb ban, I should say. So, pretty much mirror of what we saw last match, I should say.
Yeah, it was very similar to what we saw last match, but still a couple of changes in there. More importantly, the Geb being banned out. That's a very, very big thing. Also, sorry, I seem to have got the teams the wrong way around.
It's fine.
Yeah, so Decisive Supremacy is actually on the Order side, and Spitfire is on the Chaos side, so I'm just going to fix everything around and all of that good stuff. So very interesting.
Hello. So Decisive Supreme, they have opted to go with the Thor and the Odin pickups immediately. Odin wasn't banned out this time; it was Geb instead. So Odin prioritized pretty heavily here because Spitfire picked up Hell first. So Odin was picked into, which is a pretty big hole right now in the current meta. Odin and Hell, or Odin and insert any other healer here, seems to have this big yin-yang relationship. If Odin isn't banned, he gets picked up pretty quickly if Hell, or any kind of healer, is even smelt on the other team's build. But at the same time, if Odin gets banned, healers usually end up running Supreme, as we saw last game.
Yeah. Also, sorry about this not appearing yet on your screens. I'm having a couple of technical difficulties with the backside right now. It seems to be working.
That's all right.
Yeah, there we go.
We can just pretend it's a radio show.
Yeah, we can just pretend it's a radio
Lovely.
show. Yeah, everything should be fine now, so I'm just sort of getting through and dealing with everything right now.
Yes, back to the game. We do see that Spitfire have opted to pick up the Khepri and the Anhur, so that is in theory going to be their duo lane all sorted out. Decisive Supreme will be picking up Janus as their mid laner, or they potentially could go in the solo. That is something that can be opted into, but traditionally a mid, most likely going to be in the mid. Second stage of banning coming up. I would guess that Decisive Supreme are going to eliminate either a jungler or a solo, because those are two holes in Spitfire's comp right now.
Yeah, they definitely will be wanting to get rid of a decent sort of jungle. Maybe the solo, not so much, because Odin, well, Sun Wukong's been banned out, Odin's already there. That could actually be an Odin solo if they wanted it. We don't know. It's most likely going to be the support if they like, it's still a very good support role, still good solo. It can go anywhere really, but we do see it was actually the Fenrir ban coming out from the side of Decisive Supremacy.
Interesting. This might be a lack of knowledge on my end, but I don't see too much of a reason to ban the Fenrir. I guess Decisive Supreme knows something about Spitfire that I don't, because there's a lot of other junglers that are still left on the table. You've got people like Kunbat, you've got a Wheelish, that kind of thing. A Wheelish would be great here, because of the being able to counter the Odin. But it looks like the Fenrir is going to be eliminated instead. Spitfire did opt to get rid of Freya, so Decisive Supreme forced to pick up the Medusa instead. Let's see how Spitfire opt to pick up their last two characters. This is going to have to be their jungler and their solo, I would assume. Yeah. Although we could... yeah. Scylla is going to be hovered over. Is that going to be a lock-in?
It could be a lock-in. Batz is also going to be hovered over. So just waiting to see if they actually want to pick these in. Batz is going to be locked in, as well as the Scylla, actually.
Yeah, so that's going to be the full team composition for Spitfire, fully assembled. That's a decent amount of CC coming out of Spitfire. They've got okay initiation.
Well, that's
usually
Supremacy on the right.
Ah, is it? Alright. Yeah. So, oh, yeah, that looks like the Spectator messed up ever so slightly.
Yeah, it has. It is what I was talking about earlier. Decisive Spectators on the right, Spitfires on the left. And Spectators are very temperamental sort of kit, but it's always a lovely little thing when it works nicely. But Anubis is going to be the hover on for Spitfire. So we're
Yes,
going to have to
please.
see if they want to lock this in. It could be a very surprising thing, and I think this might actually be why the Fenrir is banned. That is going to be a lock-in. We're seeing an Anubis.
We saw that a few days ago in the SPL. We saw Denial break that out. Is that going to catch on? Please tell me that's going to catch on. I want this to catch on. If this catches on, I'm going to be very happy. Because Anubis has potential for some of the highest damage in the game. It's just that whole stuck in place and potentially easily interruptible thing that could be a problem. That's the big hole in Anubis' game.
Well, I think actually this is mostly there to try and counteract. It looks like it's going to be up against the Hell, as it seems to be on the solo lane for Spitfire. So that will be a very interesting thing, because what Sonic and Anubis can do, which not very many gods in Smite can do, he can actually burst the Hell down before she can even start healing. But if he can't burst it down before the Hell starts healing, the Hell will most likely win that matchup, because then it'll just be that she has more healing, she can out-heal anything that Anubis brings, then Anubis doesn't have any sort of moves to try and kill the Hell with, and the Hell just bursts you down to death.
And so with that, unless you've got anything else to add, we should cut to the break screen to let the anti-ghosting timer count down, and then we'll be getting into game here for the second game of the day. It will be Decisive Supremacy versus Spitfire.
Alright, we will see you very soon.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time for the next game of the day. This is going to be Decisive Supreme versus Spitfire. And immediately off the bat, we see some pretty heavy ward coverage coming out of Spitfire. Looks like they don't want any kind of invasion shenanigans coming out of the comp, which arguably has some pretty damn good invade at level 1. You've got people like Anhur, you've got Batz, who can do a lot of work in terms of an early invade, or hell, if the entirety of Decisive Supreme decide to roam around. So, does Spitfire just want none of that at all? Wards are probably a good investment then.
Yeah, I mean, the most interesting thing is the fact that they've got wards on both sides of the map, and more importantly, both in the speed and the red buff. They want to check that they're doing the normal start and making sure that they're not going to come into any problems. Most importantly as well, they want to know exactly what Decisive Supremacy are building to start off with. And there's a whole lot of potions on every single person, meaning that they definitely want to try and look for the sustain comp in pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. And with that, most people are going to be doing their, standard starts. Nothing really too fishy coming out. People are going to take their camps, head to lane, split them backs when they need to, standard. Taking a look at the build here, though, we do see a little bit of differentiation in terms of... Actually, no, never mind. I was looking at the wrong thing entirely. No differentiation in styles for Medusa or Anhur. They're both going for the Charge Morningstar, so they want that nice extra mana, but... Transcendence, while it does give you a nice bit of damage, late game, ideally you want to sell it, so the question is, what's he going to replace it for late? I imagine it's just going to be crit, but he could go for something a little bit more interesting
actually,
in terms of that style.
A little bit of damage there. The Tectonic Rift came out very early on, and the Spitfire were considering if they wanted to invade or not, but they decided against it. Over on the left-hand side, we were talking about the Transcendence, but I think actually there's a much more important difference coming in here. The fact that Odin's gone for Boots instead of the Weakening Curse. I feel like that's one of the biggest and most interesting ones in between, because the Odin's feeling like it's actually better to sort of run around and get better mobility against these two, rather than going into the slowing out. Oh.
It looks like solo lane here, Balentine is being forced under tower pretty heavily. He was fairly low on mana. He was being chased back under tower by Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy having a decent bit of push early on.
Yeah, this is what's going to happen between the sort of Anubis-Hell matchup. Anubis is going to be able to clear the way very quickly and also force Balentine to be a lot more careful about exactly where he's going to go. Balentine's actually using a lot of his kit as poke onto CrazyToaster. This could prove a lot... Oh, wow. Kill actually going on out on the left-hand side onto the Khepri, nonetheless. I think that must have been just the Bourbon combo followed by a lot of damage from Medusa's acid spray and the steroid she has on her 1. That must have finished him off incredibly quickly before you can even get some of the healing from his pot out.
Yeah. While Khepri does provide a decent bit of damage mitigation, not enough to where you'll be able to counteract something as severe.
Well, actually on the right-hand side, Balentine's going to get stunned out as well. just going to be able to use the healing from her 1 to make sure that she doesn't lose too much from that as well.
So with that, that's going to be first blood advantage for Spitfire. They're going to have a little bit more money in the back pocket. Now, looking into this towards sort of early mid-game, yes, you've got the Khepri, which is going to give everyone, in theory, a second life. You've got Balentine, who can provide heals. You mentioned before the lack of a weakening curse being built immediately. How quickly do you think that Leftysyndrome would build it, considering that he has the ultimate that gives anti-heal? Do you think that he's going to think he's confident enough to land those every time and not buy it, or do you think he's going to be playing a bit more safely here, Wiz, and just not go for it eventually at some point in the build?
Yeah, I'm actually even wondering if he even wants to go for it. We do actually see a fight on the right-hand side a little bit, though. The stun came out along with the grasping hands, but again, not much to be found. Auri just got heals up by Balentine, and they just sort of break off and go for their buffs. Simple as. But I actually am questioning whether even Odin wants to build into this weakening curse or not. He'll most likely look for a blink to be able to get that early sort of initiation followed with the cage coming out, and then possibly we'll be looking later on. Actually, I think Decisive Supremacy are actually able to get at least one of those mid camps on the left hand side away from Spitfire, which is very important for them. They need to make sure they get as much XP as possible, especially as they were down by about 700 gold or so right now.
And about, give or take, they are going to be able to level out the XP difference and actually get themselves a fairly small XP difference, but it's, you know, a small lead nonetheless. The gold difference right now is firmly in Spitfire's favour, 800 gold. It's not massive, but it's still a lead to bear in mind because they did get the first blood and those right side harpies.
Yeah, they do have a lead slightly.
Something I'd like to point out here. We do see the Divine Rune coming up pretty quickly on Crazy. Now, not only is there obviously, of course, the healing negation, but the thing to remember for people who aren't so familiar with how the passive works for Anubis, it doesn't just give you flat bonus lifesteal, it's a debuff applied to a target. Then you get bonus lifesteal from the targets.
Actually no, if I'm correct, it's you gain percentage lifesteal, or it's a base percentage lifesteal increase, so you get an extra 33% off of lifesteal. So, as you can see, he currently has Divine Ruin, which is giving him 15% magical lifesteal. He's actually getting 20% magical lifesteal off of that instead. But then his passive also has this extra thing of where he steals protections off of the enemy, off of any enemies he hits. So that's minions, gods, whatever. He gets an increase in protections depending on how many people he hits and what he hits. So it's a sort of easier thing to be able to sort of sit there and tank damage if he needs to. We do see a bit of a fight brewing in mid lane. Actually going to be forcing the Batz ultimate. Janus is just going to portal through the wall. Didn't even have to use bees to do that.
Yeah, he was able to get himself away just with a little bit of land to be able to get out of the Fear No Evil and teleport away.
He had enough time to be able to put the portal onto the wall, and then the Fear threw him into the portal.
Wait, he was feared into the portal?
I think he was, yes. Actually, that is one interesting thing. I don't know if you know this about Fear, but Shield of the Underworld actually works through it. You can activate Shield of the Underworld while being feared.
Ooh, that might be something to bear in mind, because as a Batz player, you're inevitably going to have a crit item at some point in the build.
Blink coming in, jump as well. I think Anhur has jumped away, and so we're going to see him get trapped in this cage, forced to use his ultimate. The Khepri ultimate coming through as well. Hit by the Janus, going to force him away, but Pandacat's still on no health at all. Turnip is going to take the next kill, going down to him. Now Nazarian getting slowed down as well. Fidgetdy over here going to find a nice root and crush, but not going to be enough. Luckily, the Khepri can get away because he's a nice big bug and he's quite tanky still.
Yeah, he's going to be able to nip away just in time. I would have to ask you to quickly pause and let me resync. There we go. Fortunately, for some reason my slow-mo was on. There we go. It's off now.
Okay.
So, looking into the mid camps here, we are going to be seeing left one is going to be taken by Decisive, right side is going to be taken by Spitfire. How do you think it's going to go here?
Oh, actually, Nazarian. Oh, and then Turnip's taking quite a bit of damage from the Batz. The ultimate from Scylla is going to miss, and the nice portal away. Balentine's going to be finished off by the mollusk in the background, but now Fidgety's taking quite a bit of damage, going to be forced to use the Sentinel over the wall. This 4 kills to Spitfire already in just under 8 minutes.
Yeah, that was a nice trade there. They're going to be able to go 2 for 0. And now it looks like Mollusk is now going to be harvesting the back camps of Decisive. That's going to be hurting Auri in the long run if he keeps doing this.
Yeah, it definitely is. He's got to be quite... Well, he's got to be careful doing it, as he can get rotated on very quickly. It's why a lot of jungles still are very careful when they enter the enemy side of the jungle. But Mollusk was pretty safe there. He knew that he wasn't really going to be in much problems. He wasn't going to be ganked. The only person that was going to be nearby was Fidgetdy on the Scylla, and she wasn't going to be able to do much because there were 2 people in mid lane running down her tower. She had to be there and stay and defend. So that made sense. We do see Khepri coming back over on the left-hand lane. I think they want to try and go on this Medusa, but she's just sitting back being quite safe against Pandacat and just making sure that she doesn't get killed out. Odin again going to come around looking for the jump. Creeping Cut's going to come out along with Mollusk following with the ultimate as well. They're trying to blow a lot into Nazarian. They can't find much though, so they're just going to use the Janus threshold to get
Transition. Yeah, the transition passive on top of the... Yeah, I was going to mention something about the transition passive. Bear in mind, once you go over the threshold, that also does proc it. So Deadly Midget is going to be having a decent bit of poke, on top of the fact that the threshold also gives you the extra scaling if an enemy goes over it. Decisive Supreme know that. As soon as the threshold went down, they immediately backed off, because a lot of people, myself included, when, just playing casual games or whatever, you'll just walk over it while you're chasing Janus. All of a sudden, you're hit for about 3/4 of your health. That is why. You need to be extremely wary of his passive combined with the extra scaling off of the threshold.
Yeah. We're actually seeing CrazyToaster doing a really good job. What he's doing is he's got his stun. That's all he needs. He doesn't need to use it, because now Balentine is giving him so much sort of, oh god, I know, I've got to be careful I don't get hit by the sun. And he actually was even forced to use the 2 just as the sort of, I really don't want to get touched by this. And so now the 2's down for a couple more seconds. The Mollusk is possibly looking for a rotation there. Although I think, no, he wasn't even caught out by a wall. Yeah. So he can still do stuff if he wants to, just doing the speed buff as the mid camps come up there.
Yeah. Speed is going to be grabbed. Let's have a look at the golden XP for a second. Slowly but surely sliding in favor of Spitfire here. 4k XP, 2.6k gold. That's going to allow them a decent advantage in terms of items, and they'll have the choice. Oh! Nice use of the cage to trap Nazarian inside. He does have the Scab's Blessing if need be. Multiple ultimates being deployed on both teams. Turnip, meanwhile, lunges into Fidgetdy, picks up the kill there. Down comes Mollusk. We're going to see the Blessing applied onto Khepri. Is going to allow him to just scooty-booty his way on out of there, because Spitfire knew better than to try and kill him and just give him bonus health. So yeah, that's going to allow him to get away.
On the right-hand side, we're going to see Balentine getting knocked down by CrazyToaster's ultimate, and that's going to be a full 100-0. That's what I was talking about, of why Anubis is actually fairly good against Hell. You can kill her before she can heal.
Also, another thing with the stun, that stun comes out so quickly, a lot of Hells don't have time to cleanse it in time, because the actual cleanse proc has a slight delay. Over the Gulf Fury, Panda taking a decent bit of poke.
Yeah, Panda did quite a lot of poke. Deadly Midget actually came over, and now Humbat is trying to do a bit of damage on him. Gonna get stunned out though. Not gonna find the double tap before Auri can jump away. So that's not too bad for him. Looking at this though, this is looking very good for Spitfire. They have a lot of, well, I mean, you could say this is almost a bit of a decisive start of the game for them, but there's still a lot for them to lose. They can easily lose team fights if they're not too careful. They have to play this very well. Luckily, though, on the side of Decisive Supremacy, they don't have too much to be able to counteract. Auri, with quite low health, gonna find the teleport through the portal!
That was clever. I liked that. Also, bear in mind that we did see CrazyToaster take out the tower on the right side there in solo, so that's going to allow him to rotate for free. And meanwhile, the duo lane, the poison off the Venom shot will finish off Pandacat. Action all over the map here right now.
Yeah, Spitfire is just really winning everywhere.
Yeah, Spitfire they're really pressing the gas pedal right now in terms of, look at the player damage. All of it except one person is in Spitfire's favor, as they're going to be looking for the Gold Fury.
Yeah, and that's Odin. They take out Gold Fury, gonna make sure they get into an even further lead. The Odin, you don't really expect to do much damage. He's there to just get the cage down and try and defend himself in the cage while he's there, while he's in there, because he doesn't really want to use his jump to get out unless he absolutely has to. He only wants to do it to get in, try and do damage if he needs to. So he just got to be quite careful about doing that. So he's just sitting back, not really wanting to get much damage off, and just happy to do what he's doing right now. Auri going to look for the monkey, is going to find it onto Mollusk. Mollusk doesn't have much mana. Actually going to stun him away. That's all of his mana used, but now Leftysyndrome's rotated into the mid lane, so won't be able to get in, and the mid camp's going to go to Decisive Supremacy.
Yeah, that is going to be picked up. Leftysyndrome, unfortunately, doesn't want to risk going in. He's just going to get immediately busted down. He's going to get rooted in place. Then
CrazyToaster is going to find a stun. Balentine taking quite a bit of damage. Is going to be forced to use the heal, looking for the disperse as well. Just a lot of damage coming out onto CrazyToaster, and now Fidgetdy's over here as well. Janus ultimate's going to get through Fidgetdy, taking a lot of damage from the Anubis ultimate. Anubis ultimate isn't enough to finish him off. Leftysyndrome going to be able to find the kill, and the Portal 3 going to get CrazyToaster away. Now Auri's in the middle of all of them, going to get stunned out. The ultimate's going to come out from Khepri as well. And looks like they're just going to run away, as Auri doesn't actually have his ultimate.
Down comes the Thor from across the map, gets impaled out of the tower before you can do anything, but Midget picks up the kill onto Auri before anything else can happen. Pandacat, meanwhile, taking a good bit of damage. Turnip picks up the kill on the Pandacat with the help of Mollusk. Leftysyndrome just lurking around the side, looking for any kind of bombs, but it's not going to be able to. But look at CrazyToaster going for the pincer maneuver on the tower. All of Spitfire are going in. Midget picks up Nazarian. Balentine is not going to be able to sustain through that assault. Turnip picks up that kill for an unstoppable streak. And that's going to be the second tower of the game going in favor of Spitfire. Spitfire putting on a clinic right now.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, especially Turnip on this Medusa. 7-0-1. Just have a look at the gold compared to the Anhur. 2,000 in the lead. 2,000! That's an ADC. That's pretty much.
That's not something you want to see.
Well, actually, no. That is the whole of Soul Eater. Soul Eater only costs 2,000 gold, if I'm correct.
I roundabout. Yeah,
so,
you can essentially just buy the whole damn thing with that amount of gold. That's no joke, considering how much Soul Eater gives you. That 20% extra effective health versus, say, Devo Gloves, and also the passive on top of that, which gives aura to teammates. That kind of thing being rushed this quickly is a very nice luxury to have Spitfire.
Yeah, and I imagine Decisive Supremacy are very down on their luck right now. They want to try and do what they can, but, I mean, Spitfire just
Gang on the right side.
Here. Balentine is dead before he even gets out.
Decisive Supreme don't have a lot of ward coverage, and anything they do try and start up immediately gets shut down by Spitfire Sentry Wards. Another initiation by Spitfire. They are just looking for kill after kill after kill here. As... Yeah. Mollusk is going to be able to get away!
Auri is actually nearly dead as well, forced to use Khepri ultimate on him. He's just going to jump away, try and not take out enough damage. Leftysyndrome going to finally finish him off. No! Actually going to get slowed out, and now it looks like the Odin may fall himself. Khepri on very low, Portal going to come through, and the Anhur ultimate is used, but it's not going to be enough. Oh.
And Spitfire take another tower on the right, and they're about to get one on the left. Yep, that's going to be another one on the left. And now, things are just getting out of control here. Is there anything Decisive can even do to try and cinch this gap? Beautiful stun by CrazyToaster. He's going to melt Fidgetdy. Was there even a Scylla?
I think I saw one on the map, but I'm not quite sure. I may have to go jump back and check that. Because there was not a Scylla there, certainly by the end of CrazyToaster's ultimate. He just absolutely destroyed him. And look at his build. He's gone into Breastplate of Valor and picking up Pythagorean's Piece as well. So he's going to get even more lifesteal. So as I said, Divine Ruin gives him 20% magical lifesteal through his passive. And now he's got an extra 20% from
right
Pythagorean's.
Side. Mollusk tried to go for the dive, but that's just... the stun's going to get cleansed away immediately. Decisive Supreme are just so split up here in these fights. Spitfire, meanwhile, are clumping together and using ultimates in tandem. Initiations from either Syndrome or Mollusk immediately into through time and spaces by deadlymidget, doing huge amounts of damage, and then CrazyToaster every time is able to just sneak around the side and get a cheeky stun off. Mollusk, though, getting hit by the Khepri charge. There's the initiation I was just talking about. Leftysyndrome putting the cage down, stopping any kind of healing, and drastically reducing attack speed. Down comes the Finweaver to try and zone out deadlymidget. Fidgetdy, it's going to pick up Mollusk, then Mollusk being trapped between a rock and a hard place being Decisive Supreme here. And now Spitfire are going to have to be a little wary, because Decisive Supreme have decided to show up.
Yep, they're trying to show up, but they're all showing up in the same place, which is not exactly what you want to do. Khepri ultimate used onto Balentine just to make sure that he's going to be safe, and I think Decisive Supremacy just need to get out of here. They know that they can't find any of the kills onto Spitfire, as they've only just got their first one onto the Mollusk. That was their first kill.
That's not a good thing to see at 18 minutes and 20 seconds into the game when you're 15 kills down. Now, something I just want to quickly point out here is something a bit more intangible, but something you have to bear in mind. These are all challenger teams, and coming into challengers, it is open bracket, so team morale and team unity isn't necessarily going to be the highest versus, say, a full-blown SPL team that's been together for years, and going 15-0 does take a big hit on morale, but they're going to try and regenerate some of that by going for a Fire Giant and Spitfire looking for the re-engage.
Yeah, that was a very interesting Fire Giant call. It could have worked, but Spitfire just knew exactly where they were and could turn around on them immediately, and now they're looking for another re-engage. Nice Impale away is going to keep Leftysyndrome from getting the ultimate in a nice position. Auri also using the ultimate in the background just to get a little bit of disengage going, but not enough as well. Now Pandacat's going to be the one being targeted, as he does have his dispersal away. Ultimate finally going to come out, and that's a really nice Anubsi ult that's going to finish off both their Pandacat and Nazarian as well. Balentine going to be the next focus, or is it going to be Fidgetdy who just is destroyed?
If Fidgetdy managed to get out of that with a clutch Aegis, I would have been extremely impressed and slightly agape, because that would have been possibly what they needed to try and defend the Fire Giant, because Scylla would have had enough damage to be a threat with the Crush. Yes, she doesn't have ultimate, so that's a big part of that down. But still, you know, a Scylla in a team fight is not something to, you know, stick your nose up at. But Spitfire with that down is going to look for the Fire Giant. That is true.
She doesn't even have Spirit of the Magus yet. Thor going to go up into the air right now. Not sure who he wants to land on. Going to look for the Balentine. Balentine taking a lot of damage. Actually going to be able to take out Leftysyndrome before he gets the Fire Giant. And now he's going Balentine is just going to be finished off by CrazyToaster there. Auri going to go in the background. Janus snipe coming through. Great ultimate. Actually could take out Mollusk. Nice Khepri ultimate going to bring him back to life.
Now with the Fire Giant though, Spitfire can just go back, recompose, and look for either a good enough push to where they can take down both the tier 2 towers in mid and duo, and then look for one Phoenix, or if they're feeling especially fancy, they're going to just go for 1 or 2 people on Decisive Supreme, considering that in their past experience in this game alone, people have been getting caught out left, right, and center, and look to go for the Titan just immediately after taking a single Phoenix. Yes, that'll be risky, but in this game, Decisive Supreme haven't exactly been grouped up effectively enough as to where those big ultimates are going to be enough of a threat from, say, Auri, because most of these Fear No Evils, I can only think of maybe one Fear No Evil in this game that has made a massive difference so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, I think this is the why Spitfire are playing the way they are. Pandacat may actually get caught out here. Blink going to come in, Pandacat is just dead to rights. There's no way that he's going to live. But basically, oh my god, what was I saying? I hate it when this happens.
There's so many picks, it's actually picking your memory apart piece by piece. Oh dear,
yes,
that's a tragedy.
But we are going to see the tier 2 tower on this left-hand side being taken down. So Spitfire just getting even further ahead, and now Decisive Supremacy just defending this Phoenix. They know that this middle tier 2 tower is probably going to go down as well fairly quickly. Auri going to come out on the back line, looking for CrazyToaster. Not going to find too much though, and now he's going to get caught into the cage. That's going to be the Odin falling down first, but everyone else is going along with him on the side of Decisive Supremacy. 3-4 of Decisive Supremacy go down. Turnip getting a triple kill. Looking for the Quadra maybe onto Pandacat. Pandacat going to force to go into his ultimate. Odin going to be taking down the Mollusk before he can do anything. Pandacat's the only one alive. CrazyToaster taking quite a bit of damage from the Titan, but the Titan's taking quite a bit of damage from the minions. I think Spitfire are just doing the same thing though. going back and looking for a couple of objectives, getting together again and looking for this last tier 2 tower to make sure the Titan is at its weakest possible before they go and finish this game.
Yeah. They probably just wanted to group and push down mid originally, but because they had that Anhur pick... Speaking of the Anhur picks, get another one and the tower. Because they had that Anhur pick before, they were able to push down that left side and surgically pick off the Phoenix, and now because of that second Anhur pick, they get the tower, and are now going to be looking for even, well, less Gold Fury to give them more gold in their pocket, and more to stop Decisive from getting that snowball potential back. Because of the way the Gold Fury works now, you get more gold later into the game. And because of Decisive Supreme's massive level deficit right now, I mean, just look at the graphs, it's 26k experience. Decisive would just be gagging for a Gold Fury right now. But they can't get it because Spitfire just have complete control of the map, in no small part, thanks to the just wonderful ward coverage that Spitfire's doing right now. Anything Decisive does just get shut down.
Yep, and now Decisive could actually be caught out. We see Auri over here on this left hand, or the right hand side, and now Leftysyndrome just over here, getting the slow out, just trying to do as much of damage as possible. Auri gonna get trapped in the Odin cage. Nothing really much gonna come out of Leftysyndrome's damage, but he is gotten Auri down to half health. Jump's gonna come away from Auri, but that's gonna be a nice double tap. Khepri ultimate there. The ultimate from Auri's used, another defensive ultimate, which what I was going to talk about. Leftysyndrome, the Mollusk is up in his ultimate, not gonna be able to hit anyone with the stun as Pandacat goes into his ultimate. Balentine very much finished off, and Turnip took out the Scylla in the background.
And with that, Spitfire, they don't have the Fire Giant buff anymore, but they don't need it, as Goobis just completely lasers Pandacat. Turnip getting credit for that. This Phoenix is going to fall very shortly. Leftysyndrome doing a good bit of tanking, but he is very low. I don't imagine Auri's going to try and jump in and get a pick off, considering that would essentially be suicide right now. And at this point in the game, respawn timers are getting to that point where if you're down, you're going to be down for approximately 47 seconds, according to that timer, because Auri just got taken out.
Yep, and now Nazarian is the only person left. Scylla is going to be up in a couple of seconds, but is this enough? It could very well be. The Titan's on half health already, and this is going to be a most likely game going to Spitfire.
There was not a lot that Nazarian could really do there. Yes, he can just throw the Dawn's Wrath to provide a little bit of protections, or sorry, I should say mitigations onto that Titan, but you can't say put the res on it, so that is going to fall extremely quickly. Spitfire putting on a dominant performance, picking up that game, I wouldn't say without any resistance, but they were able to crush anything Decisive tried to put up pretty damn quickly.
Yeah, that is very true. They couldn't really do much, and Decisive just, yeah, they were trying to find little bits everywhere. The one thing that I forgot to I was talking about, and then I remembered it, the Spitfire was playing it perfectly against the Humbats. What you want to try and do is get the Humbats to force his ultimate as defensively as possible. So basically they can't use it, especially with what Decisive had. They had a Khepri as the only other initiation. They had basically nothing. They had no initiation apart from the Humbat's ultimate, and if you can force that defensively, which they were doing very well, they basically made sure that Spitfire had all of the engagement with the Odin, the Anubis, the Medusa, the Janus, and the Thor. All of them individually have insane initiation onto either single target, multi-target, just basically utter destruction. So you had to be very careful against that sort of team. Especially when you had no way of disengaging it except your only engaging tool as well. So unfortunately, that just meant that Spitfire could decide when they wanted to fight, where they wanted to fight, and it just made sure that Decisive Supremacy couldn't find anything.
And something else I want to quickly point out before we move on to the next game: the ward coverage. It's a lot more important when you're facing against the Thor, because you need to be able to ward up the Fire Giant and the Gold Fury to actually beware of those ganks coming out from Thor. He can do that from Gold Fury and Fire Giant into any lane he pleases. But on top of the fact that they weren't able to get wards into the relevant places, Decisive Supreme kept getting flanked and pincer maneuvered on by CrazyToaster on Anubis. Anubis being surprising. That's not a phrase you often hear. But the fact that Decisive Supreme couldn't get enough physical map presence to actually get out there and ward. That allowed Spitfire to push in without any kind of offensive ward coverage watching the flanks, and then CrazyToaster or Left, or anyone who pretty much wanted to on Spitfire, could just walk around the side of a tower, or walk around the side of a team fight, and then just vomit all their ultimates onto everyone.
Well, it wasn't even just that. I mean, it was just simply that Decisive Supremacy didn't have enough gold to be able to afford wards. They were trying to build as many items as they could to be able to get the damage that they needed to be able to fight Spitfire. But that just meant that the Mollusk could come and throw his ultimate in, get rid of everyone's beads, CC immunity, and everything, and then Leftysyndrome follow up. Turnip, deadlymidget, CrazyToaster get all of their stuns, portals, and everything off because they weren't able to stop the Mollusk. It was very well played from Spitfire overall. They were a big, really good unit. It almost felt like Decisive Supremacy had only just sort of been like, hey guys, do you want to do challenges? We can make a team, let's just go in. And it caused a couple of problems. I think there wasn't quite enough communication between everyone. But I think we should end it there before and so we can get into our next game, which will be King Maces versus Potato Salad. So we'll be back as soon as we can with the next game. We'll see you in a bit.